Hey my yarny friends, I'm Sara Sach. Welcome back to my crochet channel. Now today's video, we're going to be making what I'm calling the Gradient Glitter Shrug, sometimes called a Cocoon cardigan. And really, they're super easy to make. All you need to do is make a rectangle, put the sleeves together, and trim it. Now the yarn that I used is the Gradient Glitter yarn. It's a new yarn from Premier. We'll talk more about yarn in just a minute. But I wanted you to see how it is a gradient yarn. When we started on this side, it was lighter, and as we got around to this side, the colors got darker. And I absolutely love how it turned out. I know I should give this one away, but I have a feeling I'm going to keep it for myself. The neat thing about a shrug or a cocoon cardigan is that they can be worn any time of year. When you want to just add a little extra pop to an outfit, this would be beautiful over a pair of jeans and a tank top, or with a beautiful elegant evening gown. Just depends on the yarns that you choose. I've got 4 different colors here, but you could do this in several colors. You could even get in your yarn stash and make whatever colors that you want, because it's all medium weight number 4 acrylic yarn. Although I really recommend this yarn. It is absolutely gorgeous. I just wish you could see the sparkles in it. Hopefully they'll show up more when I show you the yarn itself. Now this pattern is super easy. I've given you the measurements, the multiples, and any way possible that you could make it longer or shorter, wider or less wide, to fit anybody's body size. Now I did it a little bit different. I didn't do it by putting out a whole bunch of sizes, because if you wear a 2X but you want long sleeves, it's different than if you say wear a small but you want short sleeves. And so it gives you the opportunity to make it longer so you have longer sleeves, wider so you can have longer sleeves, or you may want a really long cardigan, things like that. So I've given you all that information on the blog. And as always, you can find that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. So what do we need to make one of these for ourselves? Well, we need some glitter yarn, of course. The yarn that I used is Premier Anti-Peeling Everyday Worsted Gradient Glitter. And they do have these gradient yarns that are anti-peeling every day, just like these. The only difference is they've added this glitter thread through it. I don't know if you can see that, but it's just a metallic thread that's going through it that makes it look like glitter's been spattered all over it. And unlike spray glitter on clothes you've seen, this stuff doesn't get off on everything either. It stays on the yarn because it is a thin thread going through the yarn. This is an anti-peeling yarn, so you're not going to get all those little fuzzy balls on it. It's going to stay crisp and beautiful. And I have to say, it is a really beautiful drape. It is beautiful to work with. It slides beautifully across your crochet hook, and you'll really enjoy working with this yarn. Now, Premier sent me 4 cakes. Each cake has 7 ounces or 360 yards. This color is called Royal Blue Tones. This one is called Sangria Tones. This green one is called Fern Green Tones. And then the brown one here, which is what I used between all my different rows, this one is called Fawn Tones. And I'm going to move this. I want you to see how they move. Like this one starts, you've got your darker tones moving into your lighter tones if you work from the outside of your cake. If you work from the inside, it's going to go from lighter to darker, okay? And so that's the way a gradient works. It starts light and goes darker, or if you start on the outside, it goes dark and goes lighter. Now these are beautiful yarns. I really recommend you get you some. But if you don't want to, say you don't have the money or whatever, but you want to make this shrug, any medium weight number 4 yarn will work for this project. I do recommend you using 4 colors though, because this turned out just gorgeous. We used the fawn in between all of our colors. And we just repeated pink, then green, then blue, pink, then green, then blue. Okay, and of course this is folded over, so you can see it's a nice width. All right, so basically, if you make the shrug, or what some people call cocoon cardigan, you're going to need 7 ounces of your main color, which I use this fawn. And then you're going to need about 3.5 ounces of 3 other colors. Okay. And I think you're just going to love this. Now, one thing that we did do is I put the multiples. I put the inch counts for width and the inch counts for length. And that way you could make it to fit you how you like. And the reason I wanted to do it that way is because, like I said at the beginning, these types of shrugs can be made from any size rectangle. You might want one shorter that only comes to your shoulders for maybe over a sundress in the summer, or you want to make one that has long sleeves on it for fall or winter. And so that gives you the opportunity to make it as long as you want or as deep as you want. All right. But if you make it according to my pattern, you're going to need 7 ounces of your main color and 3.5 ounces of your other 3 colors. All right. Now we're going to be stitching today with our eye hook. It's a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. Then you need a needle for weaving in ends. And unfortunately, because the way we change colors a lot, you'll have quite a few ends to weave in. And then of course you'll need a pair of scissors. You don't really need anything else unless you want to add stuff to it, like, I don't know, beads or buttons or ribbons or whatever. But for me, the yarn speaks for itself. It's absolutely gorgeous. I wish you could see just all that metallic in it, because it is a gorgeous yarn. But remember, any medium weight number 4 yarn will work. Now you'll notice that for the demo, I'm using a beige color of yarn that does not have sparkle in it, because the sparkle and the shine plays with the light and it causes it to flicker. You probably noticed that when I was doing the materials section. All right. So I've got just a medium weight number 4 acrylic yarn here. It's just some that I have on hand. I'm going to be using for the demo. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to begin with the row of double crochet foundation stitches. All right. So I've done my slip knot and I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Now we're going to yarn over, go in that first chain or the 4th chain from the hook, pull up a loop, yarn over, and only go through that first loop. Now we're just going to finish our double crochet. Yarn over, go through the next 2, yarn over, and go through the last 2. We've created our chain and our double crochet at the same time. So now we're going to yarn over. We're going to go in that chain that we made, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through that first loop, yarn over, whoops, there we go, and finish our double crochet. Now I'm going to be doing a demo swatch, so I'm only going to make 22 foundation double crochets, but you need to stitch 70 foundation double crochets for this project. Now, the way we're working is we're working in rows that are going to make the width of our project, okay? And once we make the depth, it's going to be 24 inches deep, and we'll be folding that over in order to make the shrug. So here is my actual shrug or cocoon sweater. Okay, and we're starting with a row of foundation double crochet. Then we're going to stitch another row, okay, of double crochet. Now, what you're going to do is This is the depth that makes the sweater, and the rows make the length. All right, so the length of the sweater is 40 inches. The depth is 24 inches, and that's with the trim, okay? Because we will be, of course, adding a trim and, of course, making it into a cocoon or shrug type cardigan or sweater. All right, so to make the pattern as written, you're going to need to stitch 70 foundation double crochets. For my demo, to show you how the stitches work, I'm only going to be stitching 22. If you want to practice and just make a swatch, that's a good idea also, so that you can learn the stitches that we're using. All right, so we're beginning with a row of foundation double crochets because it makes a nice stretchy edge. All right, so just to remind you what the foundation double crochet is, yarn over, go in that stitch that we made, that's our chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through that first loop, yarn over, go through the next two, yarn over, and go through the next two. And so what we're doing by doing a foundation double crochet is we're stitching the chain and the double crochet, the stitch, at the same time. And this gives us a nice stretchy edge. All right, so you need 70 foundation crochets, and remember this chain 3 at the beginning counts as your first. For my demo, I'm only doing 22. I have stitched 22 foundation double crochets, but don't forget, you need 70. And remember, if you want to adjust your stitches, the stitch counts, the multiples, and the inch measurements are all on that blog, that link provided in the notes underneath this video. All right, so now we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. We're going to turn our work, and we're just going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of our double crochets across. Our chain 3 counts as our first stitch, and so we're going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets across. You're going to find that this is a very simple pattern, and it comes out really elegant. So I'm just stitching 1 double crochet in each of my double crochets across, and remember, our chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. I have completed row 2 on my swatch, and so I have 22 double crochets. You're going to have 70 double crochets. Then chain 3. Now we're going to turn our work. Your chain 3 is going to count as your first double crochet on every row. So I'm going to stitch 1 double crochet in the next 2. 1, 2. So that gives me 3 double crochets at the beginning of my row. We're going to chain 1. We're going to skip the next double crochet and double crochet in the next 2 stitches. 1 and 2. All right. Chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet in the next 2. And then we're going to repeat this across. Chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet in the next 2. Chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet in the next 2. 1 and 2. Chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet in the next 2. And you're going to repeat this, working all the way across your row. Okay, and then you'll have 4 double crochets at the end. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're going to chain 1, skip the next, and 1 double crochet in the last 3 stitches. I'm going to go ahead and chain 3. Actually, I'm not going to chain 3 because we're going to change colors. So when you're changing colors, don't do that chain 3 yet. Okay? Alright, so I'm doing a swatch, of course, so I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chain 1 spaces. You did 70 double crochets, and so you're going to have a lot more. So, according to the pattern, you're going to have 22 chain 1 spaces, and then you'll have 48 double crochets. Alright? Now remember, you're going to have 3 double crochets at the beginning and end of each row, and then chain 1, 2 double crochets across the center. Now we're ready to do row 4. I grabbed some light blue acrylic yarn that does not have sparkle in it because that was the next color that I used on my actual demo was the blue. So you're going to bring in your color 2, and again, the color changes are every 4 rows, but the beginning we only did 3 to get us set up. Okay, now you're going to have to cut your yarns, and so you're going to have quite a few weave-ins if you change colors as often as I did. You could carry your yarns up if you wanted to and stitch over them when we put the trim on, but I just found it for this particular project, it just felt better to cut my yarns every 4 rows and not have those long color changes. Okay, and plus we're switching to different colors, and when you add them in, you're going to end up having really long drapes of yarn. All right, so I brought in my color 2, and what I do, I don't tie a knot, but I do what I call a stay knot, and I just put them together like this. Then they can be weaved in, but it keeps it from coming undone. Just a little something that I do. All right, so we want to chain 3 because we want our first double crochet to be in our new color. So we're going to turn our yarn. Now we're going to double crochet in the next 2 double crochets. And now we're going to stitch a triple. And we're going to place that triple down here around this, okay? So 2 wraps on your hook, go down here where we skipped, pull your yarn through, and stitch your triple. All right, oops, get on that hook. And see how that looks? And we'll be stitching a triple like that across all of our chain 1 spaces. All right, so we're going to double crochet in the double crochets, and then we're going to stitch a triple, or like a long triple, to the row below. All right, so 1 double crochet in the next 2 double crochets, and a long triple to that stitch below. All right, see how that looks? Now, we could have done another row of double crochets, but when you do it this way, I feel like it gets a little too bunchy in there. And so we decided to make those chain 1 spaces so it wasn't quite so bunchy, because I didn't want it to bunch up on you. Okay, so 1 double crochet in the next 2 double crochets, and a long triple around that chain 1 space. And you'll repeat this all the way across. There we go. And of course, I'm not going to have as many stitches as you because I'm doing a swatch. But I will show you how that looks on the actual shrug in just a minute. So here's my last chain 1 space. So my last triple, long triple. These are also called spike stitches, of course. And then that leaves those last 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And we're not changing colors, so I'm going to go ahead and chain 3. Now here's my actual shrug. Here's those first 3 rows. And then here is the row where we did 2 double crochets and our long triple. And see how pretty that makes? It gives it a nice, almost archy kind of appeal or look, appearance I should say. And it's just super pretty, but it's also super easy. And so I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of my long triples, but you're going to have 22, just like you had 22 chain 1 spaces and 48 double crochets. Now what we're going to do for the next 2 rows is we're just going to chain 3 and 1 double crochet in each of those double crochets across. And we're going to do this for 2 rows. So we'll have 2 solid rows of double crochet in our color 2. And again, I just really want to reiterate that you can change colors however you would like, or you can stitch this all in one color. But with the long triple stitches, it's really, really pretty when you change colors on that row. Okay? Each one of these colors are going to be, after this beginning one was only 3 rows, but each of our colors now are going to be 4 rows, because you'll have the row where we did the triple stitches, then we're going to stitch 2 solid double crochet rows, and then we'll do a row where we do 2 double crochets and chain 1 like we did there on row 3. All right, so what I'm going to do now for row 5 and row 6 is I'm just going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets across, chain 3, and turn. And again, this is giving us 2 solid rows of double crochet. I finished 1, and now I'm going to do another one. And of course, you're going to have 70 stitches, not 22 like me. So I have stitched on my swatch, of course, the 2 rows of just 1 double crochet in each. And again, you're going to have 70 stitches on those 2 rows. Every row is going to have 70 stitches after this, because even though we did a chain 1 or a long stitch, it still equals out to 70 stitches. All right? So now we're going to do what we did down here on row 3 and make those chain 1 spaces. So I've chained 3, turn my work, we're going to double crochet in the next 2. That way it will give us 3 double crochets at the beginning of our row, because again, our chain 3 counts as our first. We're going to chain 1, skip 1, and 1 double crochet in the next 2 double crochets. And again, we're just going to repeat this across just like we did on row 3. Chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet in the last 2. Chain 1, skip 1, 1 double crochet in the next 2. Did I say last? It's next 2. Which is obvious by what I'm doing, of course. And you'll do this all the way across until you end with 4 double crochets. You'll chain 1, skip 1, and then you'll stitch 1 double crochet, whoopsie, there we go, in the last 3 double crochet stitches. I'm not going to chain 3 because now I'll be changing colors again. And so you can see we have 4 rows. We have 1 row with our long triples, 2 double crochet rows, and then our row here with our open chain 1 spaces. And then what you'll do is you'll cut your yarn. You'll bring back in your main color, which is my beige. There we go. Chain 3. I do recommend you leave a longer tail. That's not long enough tail. And the reason is because you're going to have a lot of weaving in to do, and you want to make sure you've got enough tail to weave that in. Now, if you want to carry your main color that we're using over and over again, you could probably do that, but we're going to be using blue, then our main color, and then green in our main color, and then green in our main color, and it's going to be a whole lot of rows before we bring the blue back in. Okay, so you could, if you wanted to, carry your main color, which I'm using beige, but I wouldn't recommend your colors that you're striping with unless you're just using 2 colors, which would be really pretty as well. All right, so now we just bring in our main color again. Chain 3. I'm going to do what I call that little stay knot, just to keep it from coming undone. It makes it easier to weave that in. Like I said, that's the only negative on this whole pattern, is we do have a little bit of weaving in to do. All right, so then we'll turn, and we're ready to begin our next set of 4 rows. All right, and so now we've come back to our main color. We're going to double crochet in the next 2 because, again, our chain 3 counts as our first. Now we're going to stitch that long triple. And then 1 double crochet in the next 2. 1 and 2. Stitch that long triple around that chain 1 space, just like we did down here. All right, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to work that across, just like we did on row 4. We'll stitch it across and then 1 double crochet in the last 3, just like we did here. So I have completed row 8. It's exactly like we did down here on row 4. And now we're going to do those 2 rows of just solid double crochets. Chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, and we're just going to stitch 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets across. And like I said, your stitch count is not going to change. If you use the multiples and made it wider, that stitch number that you have ended on and began on will be your stitch count for all your rows, because we're not adding or subtracting any stitches at all. All right, so I'm just going to stitch those 2 solid rows of double crochet. So I stitched those 2 solid rows of double crochet just like we did in here, and now we're going to do the row that we did here. So we chain 3, turn our work, again that chain 3 counts as our first. We'll double crochet in the next 2, 1 and 2, and again we'll chain 1, skip 1, and 1 double crochet in the next 2. And we'll repeat this all the way across until we reach those last 4 double crochets. And then we'll chain 1, skip 1, and double crochet in the last 3. And again, I'm working from a swatch of 22 stitches. and you need to have 70 stitches on every row, or if you added or subtracted to make it larger or smaller, because remember, the width and the length is totally up to you. We all have different preferences for what we like. Some of us like to have our sleeves longer, and depending on what we're going to wear it with, right? Alrighty, so I'm on those last 3 double crochets, and I'm not going to chain 3 because I'm going to cut my yarn and change. Oops, there we go. I'm going to cut my yarn and change colors. But you can see again, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you're going to have 22 chain 1 spaces and 48 double crochets. And so then at this point, it's time for color 3. And I'm just going to grab this green and bring it in. Remember, anytime you change colors at the end of a row, always do your chain 3 after your color change. All right? And so from here on out, you're going to be repeating row 4, row 5, row 6, and row 7. All right? Let me grab my actual shrug so I can show it to you. So here are the first 3 rows that I did, and then I changed to the blue and did 4 rows. Then I changed to my color 1 and did 4 rows. And then what you're going to do is you're going to change to your 3rd color, do those same 4 rows, 4 through 7, then you'll do your main color again, and then your 4th color. All right? Because I used the beigey color, then I used the blues, then the greens, and then the sangria pink. All right, and so I did that, and then I continued to repeat that, and then I repeated that one more time with the beige, the blue, the beige, the green, the beige, and the pink. All right, and you can see how the colors are getting darker as I go. All right, and so you'll repeat that again, and then you'll do it one more time. Up through the pink, and then we'll end on the beige. All right, let me go back over it again so that you can understand. So we did the beginning 3 rows in color 1, then we added color 2, back to color 1, and each one of these after this are all 4 rows. And we did that changing colors every 4 rows till we got to the 4th color, which was pink. All right, and then we repeated that. 4 rows of beige, 4 rows of blue, 4 rows of the beigey color, the green, 4 rows of the beigey color, and then the pink. All right, and then we repeated it again. 4 rows of beige, blue, beige, green, 4 rows of beige, 4 rows of pink. Okay, so basically we repeated that 2 times. All right, and then we have our last 3 rows where we did 1 row with the long triples and then just 2 double crochet rows. I hope that I explained that well. If you're a little bit confused about the repeats, go ahead and click that link provided in the notes under the video so that you can see it all written out as far as the repeat rows. Now, if you want to make it even longer, you can continue to do those repeats for as long as you want to. Say you want it to come all the way down to your wrists, or you just have really long arms, or you want to make it shorter. When you end on a row, that's the wrong end. Let's go to the right end. When you end on a row where you've done your long triples in your next color, like on this one, then you'll just end with 2 rows of double crochet. All right? Now, if you did the pattern according to what I have written, you should have a shrug that's approximately 23 by say 39, because we haven't added the trims on yet. All right, but if it's a little bigger or a little smaller because you stitch tighter, it's really not a big deal. All right, you're really going to love this yarn though. It has wonderful drape. One thing you'll notice is you have a lot of ends to weave in on the side. I've already weaved mine in, but let me show you what it looked like before I weaved it in. Now I'm going to be working with my actual shrug or cocoon. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to put your two ends together after you've weaved in all those dreadful ends, but you're going to fold it in half like this. And let me show you another picture of how that should look. All right, so now we're going to be forming the sleeves basically and the front and back trim. Now you want to make sure, take a look at it, make sure it's on the right sides. And because we went back and forth, the right and wrong sides are going to look the same. And just whichever side you think looks the prettiest, okay? Now I'm going to sort of fold this end up, get it out of the way so I can show you this end. All right, so what you're going to do, this is the end of your sleeve, and we'll come back and put a trim on this and this. Okay, these are your ends. All right, now you're going to put the two ends together. You want to make sure, because we did stripes, that everything lines up. And we're going to be stitching across here, okay? Now you're going to need your tape measure for this, because we're going to stitch the front and back together to form the sleeve. And we're going to do this for 6 inches, okay? And so I just grabbed my needle. I'm going to measure this here, and my 6-inch mark is right here. Okay, I'm going to set that aside, and we're going to stitch the front and back together till we reach that needle. I'm going to bring the camera in closer though. Now the color you choose for the trim is totally up to you. I'm going to use blue, and then for the two ends on the sleeves I'm going to use the two other colors. That way they all blend in nicely. All right, we're going to take this end, and we're going to go right in that end stitch. We're going to grab the color that we're using and bring that in. Snug that down. And now we're going to evenly single crochet until we reach here where we put that pin. I like to use a big needle, that way I can see it. If you have some nice big pins, you can do that too, or a safety pin, just to mark it. And we're going to evenly single crochet across. And you want to try to get in the sides of those stitches and not the holes. And this part probably will take you a little bit more time, maybe, just to keep track, making sure that everything's lined up. Okay, because you want where your pinks start and end, or your beiges, your greens, all that to line up. We don't want it to be off kilter. And there's not a set amount of stitches you need to do here. You just need to make it look pretty. You don't want to bunch your stitches up too much, but you don't want them to be too gapey either and have holes in between. Now I measured 6 inches. If you want the sleeve to be a little longer, maybe you added more width so that you can have a longer sleeve. Make sure that you measure whatever length that you want. And that's the neat thing about a sweater like this, a shrug or a cocoon sweater, is that it's very versatile. I'm not a big fan, I've told you all this in the past, of crocheting cardigans. I don't know why, I just don't care for them. I love to wear them. But I'm just not a fan of them. It's just all there is to it. All right, so you can see I'm stitching along there, trying to stay even. But at least this part isn't very big, even though it may take a few minutes. There we go. But you do want it to be nice and even. There we go, almost there. There we go. Alrighty, now my needle, I pushed it forward, so I need to do a couple more stitches, and then I'm going to remeasure just to make sure, because I want to make sure it's about 6 inches. Oops. Grabbed a, there we go. Alright, let me get my tape measure here. About 6 inches. Alright. So that's the first part. All right, I'm going to move my tape measure. Now we're going to stitch across the back, only going through the back, not the front, okay? And we're still going to be evenly single crocheting. All right, so let me show you. And again, there's not a set amount of stitches. Let me get to the center of the screen here. There we go. All right, so you can see I'm only stitching through the back of the shrug. Evenly single crocheting. Here's where I did my 6 inches for my sleeve. Now I'm just going to evenly single crochet, only stitching through the back. And we're going to do this all the way across the shrug until we reach the end here, and we're going to make sure we have measured on this end 6 inches, because we're going to make the second sleeve. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that with my big needle here. That way I'll know to stop right there going across the back. All right, so I'm just going to keep going, evenly single crocheting, single crochets all the way across the back. And again, you want to try to stitch in the stitches, not the holes. All right, so here's where we did the 6 inches for our sleeve. And then we only evenly single crocheted across the back edge. And here's where I pinned it to make my other sleeve. All right, and so we're going to go ahead. I'm going to take that pin out just because it's annoying me. We're going to go ahead and go through the front and back again and stitch our single crochets, joining the front and back together to form the other sleeve. And I already measured the pin space to make sure it was 6 inches. And again, if you added and you made it 8 or 10 inches on that one side, make sure you do the same thing on the other side, or you'll have 2 different size sleeves. And we don't want that. All right, so what I'm doing here is stitching the sleeve together, making sure my colors line up so it looks nice and neat. You can see here where I started carrying my yarn, and I decided I didn't want to do that. I felt better weaving in all those ends. Alrighty, so I'm going to finish this section here. Stitching my sleeve together. And so I finished that across the sleeve. And now what we're going to do is we're going to turn our work. We're going to slip stitch in these stitches that we did on the sleeve, stitching it together, and then we're going to evenly single crochet across this side and then slip stitch across here. That keeps us from having to cut it, and it also makes it nice and tidy. So I turn my work. I'm going to slip stitch in these single crochet stitches. Until we reach where we aren't stitching the sleeves together. I should say the sleeve. And again, the length of the sleeve is up to you. I would suggest try it on, measure as you go, so that it fits comfortably. All right, almost there. All right, 2 more stitches. 1 and 2. All right, so we slip stitched back up the edge of the sleeve. And see, here's your sleeve opening. All right, so now we're going to do on this side what we did on this side, and we're just going to evenly single crochet across to give it a nice edge. And again, this is just so we have a nice edge. It'll help it hold its shape, but also there is not a set amount of stitches that you need. You just need to make sure they're close but not too bunchy. And try not to stitch in the holes if you can help it. Try to stitch in the sides of the stitches. And this will give you a much better appearance. All right, so I'm just going to continue on across my shrug until I reach back over here where our other sleeve is. So I have stitched an even row of single crochet all the way back to this other side. And now we're just going to go in those stitches and slip stitch across just like we did on the other sleeve. And again, I just want to repeat, there is not a set amount of stitches for this. It's up to you how many stitches that you put. We measured 6 inches for each sleeve. Alrighty, almost there, and then we can weave in our end, and then all we have left to do is do the trim on the edge of the sleeves. There we go. Now I can cut that, and I'll grab my needle and weave these ends in. So here's one of the sleeves of our shrug, And you can see I just did a simple row of single crochet on the edge. And I made sure it wasn't the same colors that I have right here. Went with the pink. And so what I'm going to do on this end to show you how to do it is go with the green, because I used the blue on the inside trim. That way I've got all three of the colors going on. All right, so it's really simple. You're going to go right here where we ended sewing our sleeve together and go in that first stitch. Bring in your yarn, and of course you can use whatever colors that you want to. And you can trim this however that you want. Use as many colors as you want. As a matter of fact, this would be great to get in your yarn stash and just have some fun. All right, so now we're just going to stitch one single crochet in each of those double crochets all the way around that sleeve. And this is just going to help it hold its shape and give it another little extra pop of color. Oops, got a tangle. Alrighty. So I'm just stitching one single crochet in each of the double crochets all the way around the sleeve. And if you want to add more length on the sleeve, you can always add more rows of single crochet around. I'm just doing a simple trim of one row of single crochet. So I've stitched all the way around the sleeve. I'm going to join to that first single crochet. I've already cut my yarn, so I'm going to tie off, pull that to the back, and weave these in. So now my Gradient Glitter Shrug is all complete. I've got the trims on the sleeves. The sleeves are sewn together, and we've got a trim all the way around, and it's just gorgeous. I really wish you could see how sparkly it actually is. Now go make one for yourself. You'll love it.